The movie begins at the edge of Earth, completely silent and stunningly beautiful. You hear the faint sounds of a radio conversation between Houston and an astronaut, growing stronger as the Space Shuttle Explorer approaches the camera. Their mission is to apply hardware upgrades to the Hubble Space Telescope. This long take lasts 17 minutes, immersing you in the totally still nothingness of space. No atmosphere, no gravity, just the sounds of vibrations and radio waves. Everything is floating, including the camera, which could easily make you feel nauseous. It's an astonishing achievement in filmmaking to totally submerge you in this environment, and largely that's due to the incredible visual effects team, and also to director Alfonso Cuarón, who has made a handful of remarkable films, including Children of Men, Roma, and debatably the most creative Harry Potter movie. Gravity is a visual marvel. Watching it is an experience, like riding a roller coaster that is about to derail and explode into 1,000 pieces.
Explorer, this is Houston.
Go ahead, Houston.
Mission abort. Repeat. Mission abort. Initiate emergency disconnect from Hubble. Begin re-entry procedure. ISS initiate emergency evacuation.
Copy all, Houston, and work.
The Explorer is torn to shreds as Stone is tossed around, still attached to a chunk of the ship. Which, although technically impressive, it can look a little silly. The abrupt chaos and carnage is overwhelming, to the point that Stone, and maybe the viewer, don't notice the shouts coming from Kowalski to detach from the debris, which is launching her deeper into space. In the following moments, we watch as she is completely paralyzed with fear, unable to breathe or think as she's trapped in the middle of a panic attack. The camera smoothly enters her helmet, and we're given her direct perspective, with the digital displays and the sounds of radio silence and the thumping of her heart just engulf the viewer. She collects herself. She's able to pinpoint her position, and the mission for survival begins. After being tethered to Kowalski, they return to the Explorer to confirm that the damages are catastrophic. Now they have to make their way to the ISS, with Stone slowly accepting her fate as she watches her oxygen levels steadily drop. Kowalski tries to keep her occupied, asking about her life, about family, anything to keep her distracted. You learn that she lost a daughter, a child that tripped while playing, hit her head and died. Now running on fumes, they reach the ISS. Or more so, they smash directly into it. They scramble to grab anything to stop them from plummeting into nothingness. The tether snaps, but Stone is able to cling to it as she's tangled in loose parachute cords. His momentum is pulling her away from her lifeline, and he realizes that he has to detach to at least save one of them. Even if this scene is unrealistic, I'm able to keep my suspension of disbelief because the physics feel tangible. I'm totally willing to believe anything the movie tells me because it's already such a raw, unfamiliar environment. It's also a movie. This sacrifice is completely emotional. Even after Kowalski is gone, he keeps Stone focused on staying alive, on reaching the airlock, all through his radio. She's out of oxygen, she's getting lightheaded, and the sounds of a pounding heartbeat return as she's frantically grasping for survival. She makes it. After nearly suffocating, she gulps down air, strips off her suit, and relaxes her body, striking a very symbolic pose. Her attire may be inaccurate, and the imagery is far from subtle, but I'll defend it. This is a simple story. It's a pure example of the hero's journey, stripped down to a symbolic, if not literal, rebirth of Ryan Stone. It works. Maybe not for everyone, but it certainly works for me. Stone desperately attempts to make contact with Kowalski, or with ground control, but she's met with radio silence. But as instructed, she continues to give updates in case anyone can hear, and concludes that she is the sole survivor. But then a fire breaks out, causing her to rush to the docked spacecraft that can get her away from the ISS. And once again, a pretty hectic scene that can get a little silly. She detaches the ship, attempting to thrust towards a different spacecraft that can get her home. but it's caught in the parachute, making her escape impossible, with only mere minutes before the debris field orbits back for its second wave. You watch as she attempts to cut the cables, trying to remain calm, while everything in her surroundings is completely obliterated. I can't express enough how disorienting and hopeless everything is. This isn't a standard action or adventure flick. It is a disaster movie, but with a very strong emphasis on horror and suspense. Space is death, and she's holding on to a sliver of hope that she'll make it out of this alive. But her hope is quickly extinguished when she realizes that she doesn't have any fuel to operate the thrusters. She tries to radio for help, but only connects with a foreign channel, and everything spoken is completely lost in translation. She can hear a dog barking, and soon a baby crying, as the man on the other end sings a lullaby. She turns off the lights, shuts off the oxygen, and just decides to sleep. She figures she'll see her daughter again soon. You actually get to witness the other side of this conversation in a short film by Jonas, the son of Alfonso, who also co-wrote the screenplay for Gravity. It's a nice companion piece, which is included on the Blu-ray, but it's little more than a curiosity. Suddenly, Kowalski bursts in, as a hallucination, and gives her a pep talk to keep pushing forward. It's a bizarre moment, but I think the scene works decently well, given how her memory of him is using the logical part of her brain to find a solution to her problem, especially with how charming Clooney is, and it's refreshing and a bit sad seeing him again. At the climax of the movie, once again in ridiculous fashion, she makes her way to the other spacecraft, which is, of course, deorbiting rapidly towards the Earth. She rushes on board, remembers her training, says a prayer to Kowalski, and undocks the capsule just in time to enter Earth's atmosphere. We're given an intense, bombastic escape sequence, putting an end to this horrible series of events. This is an intense and emotional experience. There's a bit of absurdity here and there, and I have a few nitpicks, but there's no flaw glaring enough that I'd want to alter the movie in any way. Everything Gravity sets out to do, it accomplishes, with sharp direction and tight, focused writing. When it ends, you'll feel it, along with her. Every scene is gripping, with a beautiful score and stunning visuals throughout. It seems that when Gravity released on IMAX, it was met with tremendous critical acclaim and praise from audiences alike, racking up a bunch of Oscar nominations along the way. But as the movie left theaters and released on home video, the consensus seemed to quickly shift to an exciting technical achievement that just wasn't nearly as engaging being viewed from home. I've seen this movie several times, at the theater and in my living room, and I don't really agree with the idea that it's any less enjoyable outside the theater. The big screen can heavily complement an outstanding movie, but the size of the screen you're watching it on should make or break anything. Gravity is a rare experience, and if you turn off the lights and turn up the volume, and you strap yourself in, I promise, you'll be in for one hell of a ride.